Hello, everybody, and welcome to this edition of the Service Impact Podcast. And today we are revisiting this ongoing topic of, is SEO dead? And seems like this has been a subject for 20 years. So here to discuss it and unpack it is Stacey Abler. She's the Director of Digital Marketing at Outside Communications. Stacey, how are you today?
I'm doing great, Lance. How are you?
Thanks for joining us. And a lot of people are wondering about this. There's all sorts of mixed information out there on the web, and people that know what they're talking about, right, are making statements or what have you. And I'm not sure where it originates from. You could probably follow the money. And, that's probably a lot of your answer is you've got people with agendas that are trying to make certain statements because they've got a product that'll fix everything. But let's talk about SEO and kind of where we're at. What is the current state? Is it still important? And how is it changing?
Yep. So, SEO is dead, like you said, has been a statement for probably over 20 years at this point. It was supposedly dead not too long after it came out. So just as Google continues to update search and how we view search results and all that, then every time that there's a big change, then this SEO is dead resurfaces again. And if you look back in the past, like when Google introduced the map pack, and so you had the map listings that were taking up so much of the page. When you started getting like product listings across the top of the page, there's lots of things that made people, come to the conclusion that SEO was dead and was no longer important. And obviously it's still around. So I think AI is one of the things that is one of the biggest disruptors of everything from a search perspective, but I still don't think SEO is going to be dead, so to speak. I think the way that we do SEO is going to have to shift so that we can optimize as we traditionally did for SEO, but also for AI.
Yeah, well, and just to clarify the different SEO channels, because there's different ways that people have searched for years, whether it be local. There's the local results. You refer to the map pack. It's connected to Google My Business. You've also got your organic search results that are locally oriented. And then you've got in some of the markets that we work with, we've got clients that are showing up organically in what you would consider more national type organic search results. So you've got all these different channels, and now we've got kind of a new one, and you referred to AI, but this isn't entirely new. It's just got all the focus on it at this point.
Yes, correct. I think there's a lot of focus on it. I think there are some people who are obviously like huge adopters of AI and are using it for everything. When they go online, they're not even going to a search engine anymore. But I think a lot of people are continuing to search, and it's more that they're seeing AI results within search. The latest stats that came out shows that Google still owns about 90% of the search market. Which has been pretty consistent with how it has been. I did see a stat yesterday, in fact, that said that AI was overtaking Bing, which they don't have much of a presence anyway, so that's not difficult to do. But I think we'll continue to see some shifts, but I don't think we're going to get to the point where AI is 90% and Google's sitting at, 2 or 3, like where Bing is right now.
So AEO, AI SEO, LLM SEO, GEO, which one is it?
So some people are using all of these terms interchangeably, and some of them can be interchanged with each other. But the basic breakdown is that the AI SEO is just optimizing for AI in general. No matter where that AI result may be, it's doing that optimization for that. On your AEO, which is answer engine optimization, that is more that I go to Google and I type in a question, and then the answer comes back in the AI overview that's sitting at the top of the page on most search queries. Then we go to LLM SEO, which is the large language model, which ChatGPT, as an example, and that is optimizing so that when people are going into one of these AI tools or AI engines and asking a question or looking for information, that you can surface there. So there's a lot of different ways to say pretty much the same thing. I mean, you're optimizing for AI. It's just a matter of where it is. But in general, the way that you're optimizing for those different things is not drastically different. And it's really not all that different from even what we do in typical SEO. So there's a few nuances to it, but it's not anything that's a dramatic scrap your SEO strategy that you have now and flip over to this entirely new strategy. They work together.
Yeah, and that's a great point on the overlap, and it's also something that really began, years ago with the introduction of schema and the whole idea that we needed to teach these large language models, AI, what things were. And so schema.org came about years ago, and that's something that has basically educated a lot of these models, along with search results and a number of other things. But this it's interesting to see that a lot of this stuff, again, it's in the focus, it's in the spotlight, but a lot of this stuff has been around for quite a while. It's just it just seems like it's getting all the press now, and it's something that we've seen our clients get results with now for a number of years in terms of your zero results and all sorts of other featured snippets, which were the early stages of what we're now seeing in calling AI. I mean, so how much has really changed, or am I missing something in terms of the focus, or is it just now everybody's looking at it and realizing, oh, this thing's important and it's going to get more important?
Yeah, I mean, a schema has been around, like you said, for a while. It was a way to be able to tell the search engines exactly what the information is on the page. So if you had an address for your location, then you would specifically in schema tell it that that's the address. So there was no guessing on Google's part of what the location address was. There's lots of different types that you can put in there with services, products, your brands, people who are in your organization, all kinds of things. But I think that has not changed. So there's nothing about schema itself that's different now than what it was then. I think it's just the importance of it now in identifying those elements on the page. One of the bigger things I think that's been a shift from the AI perspective, and all of this is all still in testing, let me caveat with that. I don't think there's any set, these are the 10 things that you do to show up in AI kind of thing. So everything is a bit test and learn and throwing things out there to see what works. But is being able to chunk your content in different ways. So if we were writing a traditional SEO landing page, then it may be that, across the entire page, then you would have the full context of whatever the subject was. And you may have to rely on the paragraph above to have the context for what you've written in the second paragraph. From an AI perspective, we need to chunk content so that the entire context can be figured out from that if it just pulls that one paragraph off the page. So, it doesn't need to be that the only way that this paragraph really gives you the answer is if you also have the one above it. It needs to be that, everything is together. So as it's pulling that content in, then you can see that. From the featured snippets and all that, there's a lot on the answering questions or having bulleted lists and things like that. That's always been the case. And it's just more so important now than it was previously with the introduction of AI.
Well, we've been obviously dealing with this for a while, but in a nutshell, what is our approach at this point to dealing with AI and SEO and just all the overlap? How are we approaching that as a company?
Yeah, so I mean, I think we're taking a lot of the same tactics that we were doing before. We are putting more of an emphasis on schema, and making sure that everything on the page is marked up. Whereas before, it may have been, one section of the page had schema markup, and we didn't necessarily have schema on every single element that could have schema on the page. So I think that's one thing. And then just the approach to the content itself. So we want to make sure that the headers are specific, that the content is grouped together and it makes sense in just that, there's 3-4 sentences, whatever it is that's in your paragraph, that you can get an idea of the answer to that question. And then I think the other thing, and this has been going with SEO for a while, but with Google switching and to more like a natural conversational language in the way that people are searching. So this first started really with voice search. And people start asking, full questions because they're doing voice search instead of typing in like 3 or 4 keywords and trying to get the answer that way. So I think that's become even more important now because the way that people are interacting with AI, especially like ChatGPT or something like that, where you can continue the conversation, is that it is like a back and forth, like you're talking with a person. And so you're, putting in paragraphs or full sentences or questions or whatever it happens to be. And it's not this, HVAC near me, open now kind of thing that, you're looking for. So I think that does change a little bit of how we just put the content on the page, and making sure that everything has that more conversational tone while still having the brand authority that should be there.
Well, thank you very much, Stacey. I think this is going to be a subject that we're going to revisit probably multiple times a year. And this particular episode, we're going to continue to update. And, because things are going to continue to change. And I think that there's going to be a velocity over the course of the next 2 and 3 years where we're going to see this conversational search, or whatever you want to call it, where it is a conversation that we're having. I think we're going to see that become easier for people as the hardware catches up, and as some of the things that make it a little clunky today. I think we're gonna see some things materialize to make this where we're truly dealing with an assistant, and an assistant in terms of a computer. So that was the vision all along, is that we would have assistants, whether it be on our phones, in our computers, and I think we're just moving that direction. But thank you so much for joining us, and we will be revisiting again this subject again soon.
Thank you.
For you listening that are interested in more marketing conversations for service businesses, you could head over to serviceimpact.com. We'll see you next time on the Service Impact Podcast.